there! Being a hermit or even somewhat isolated is demonized today. This included my parents who aggressively pushed me, an otherwise withdrawn youngster, to interact with others for most of my life. They labeled being a loner as unhealthy and dangerous. In consequence, I've had over 50 personal friends in my lifetime, but I've also suffered the breakup of over 50 friendships. I was disliked by 95% of my peer group and liked by only 5% or less. I was told this was because others my age were immature, I was too quiet, and I lacked social skills. So I eventually became talkative, gained some social skills, and dealt with much older people. I've also avoided the most controversial topics. But things got worse! Clubs and gatherings shrank in size because of my presence. Sometimes someone had an angry outburst because of something I said or did. Other times I was reprimanded for breaking a rule or protocol while it was overlooked in someone else. This strong dislike of me is not dependent on gender, race, age, education level, political affiliation, or religion of the other person or people, for the most part. It's generally equal across the board. And as famous wise man and philosopher Confucius said, when a man at age 40 is the object of dislike, he will always remain what he is. End quote. Unpopular people who want to be liked must basically give up who they are as human beings. Since human interactions become predominantly unhealthy and unpleasant, I've basically segregated myself from society. So I've become somewhat of a hermit. Good news. Historically, most hermits were men who isolated themselves for religious reasons. They gained peace of mind, gained a sense of drawing closer to God, and they thrived. On the other hand, rapist and mass murderer John Wayne Gacy owned his own construction company, was married with children, and was heavily involved in the community. Mass murderer, conman, and embezzler John Edward Robinson was a grandfather who was well-liked and popular. So being withdrawn and non-social can certainly be better than being popular, outgoing, and social. What's worse is people's incredible arrogance. My raw intelligence has been greater than at least 85% of people, and I've been nicer than at least 80% of people. These observations came from others, not myself, which I now agree with. Yet people still had the audacity to order me around and correct how I think and live my life. They also treated me like I was a mean, nasty person in their moments of anger. So my mistreatment, being especially undignified and undeserved, certainly justifies my withdrawal from others. Even so-called Christians who supposedly see the light are blinded. Now I can live my life hating everyone, which would make me miserable, or I could think like Jesus, as he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Luke 23:34. Now I've never met anyone who was not apparently blinded or deluded to some extent. So my viewer, you also may be deluded. You probably are. To at least a certain extent, or maybe a large extent. So do a thorough self-examination and learn to think outside the box. Now I know I'm not the bad guy here because there is nobody who can give a logical argument for why I've been treated like an inferior being starting at age 2. I also have autism, a condition known to elicit widespread bigotry. Here are other factors that cause disconnect. Most adults are married or with a significant other, have children, or both. Yet I can't even get a date. This repulses me, which extreme injustice should. And almost all men and some women love watching sports on TV, while I dislike sports and don't watch TV. Most everyone my age has a job, while I retired at age 40 due to disability. Most everyone either owns their own home or rents, while I live with my parents. Others have siblings, while I'm an only child, and my cousins disowned me 30 years ago. And the two men, they can't even get along with each other. As for discussing my Christian faith with fellow believers, almost everybody insists on a wildly distorted version of Christianity, and I'll debate anybody on that topic. Bring it on. Not the original faith I attempt to hold. And almost all of society has the exact opposite position on women's rights and the race issue that I do. I find their ideas repulsive, as they do mine. And my politics is so different from both Democrats and Republicans that we're almost on a different planet. I haven't left my town in over 6 months, or 9 months, I can't remember exactly. I spend over 90% of my time in this house only, and over 75% of my time in just this one room, which you're seeing right on camera here. I go to church in about an hour and 20 minutes each Sunday to hear the sermon, but don't socialize for the most part. I don't see any friends, just talk on the phone once every 2 weeks. I rarely go shopping and never go for a haircut. I cut my own hair. Sometimes my parents don't see me for 30 hours, although we live in the same house. It's a big 2-story house. Some viewers may also benefit from becoming isolated. Here's how. Since humans, by and large, have herd mentality, that protects you from that and allows you to develop independent thinking. It also protects you from bad influences, since you control your influences via which videos and websites you do or don't visit. By greatly curbing your driving, you greatly reduce your chances of having a car accident or traffic ticket. The likelihood of encountering violence is dramatically decreased. You save money by not spending it on outside amusements and gas. You escape the brunt of personal rejection. And if conflicts occur on the internet, you can make them instantly disappear. My coping strategies are these. I live on the computer. There's no end to the interesting websites to explore. Then there's an endless number of videos and movies. There's a wide selection of music. Then there are the great video games and board games. My Christian faith certainly helps. For social outcasts who are truly men of faith, a wonderful reversal of roles is ultimately promised. Take care.